Hello, my darlings, and welcome back to another episode of Gullah Grits TV. We're here on this channel. We make spirituality make sense by making it make sense because ain't nobody got time to be confused. So today, I'm really excited, really stoked because I got the opportunity to do a podcast with Rebel's Corner. Go on over and check her out. She is an amazing human being, very authentic. And what I loved is that we got to have such an authentic experience together. And the way that we met and the way that we interacted with each other, I know for a fact you guys are sure to enjoy. In this podcast, we're going to be talking about redefining your purpose, your passion, your life. We're going to be going through our lives, through our military experiences, which we had no idea. We were both vets. You do not want to miss out. Stay tuned. Enjoy Rebels Corner. Let's get it.
All right. Well, what's up, you beautiful souls? And welcome back to another episode of Rebels Corner, the podcast. Of course, I'm your host, Rebel. And on today, I got a treat for y'all. Huh? I got a treat for you. So I want all of my rebels out there to give a round of applause and welcome my great new friend, Gullah Grits, y'all. I have been following him on TikTok since I first got on the app, of course, during the pandemic, like everybody else, and following him and getting his amazing advice as far as his spiritual journey personally, as well as things that you should and shouldn't do, as well as a lot of the connections in the South that we used to hear our grandparents say, and how it's all kind of interwoven into this beautiful tapestry that is Southern people. Okay, so today, the episode that we're going to kind of dive into is going to be talking about finding purpose and passion in your journey. And I never thought that there would be a better person to bring on to talk about this than somebody who has kind of put himself into the forefront of having these kind of personal conversations about the journey and about the passion behind it than my wonderful friend Gullah Grits. Let the people know what inspired you to kickstart this? What happened? What was the occurrence that
So, which part? Like to kickstart my spiritual journey or?
I mean, let's start with your TikTok journey
Oh,
because what kind of kickstarted you to kind of go from maybe doing it, as your own personal journey and then being like, I should share this with
oh,
other
okay.
people.
So, interestingly enough, I always wanted to help people. I always wanted to help people. I always wanted to be, you know, I always wanted to be a person of integrity within my community. And especially I wanted to be a travel vlogger, like because I love traveling, and I actually started getting really serious in social media um, in 2019. So I got really serious on social media, and I was like, okay, I'm in Dominican Republic right now, so I'm gonna go do some travel vlogging stuff. And then I started to get more and more inclined to do more spiritual work, and that was the coming up of my initiation. So yeah, when I started the travel journey. It wasn't really working how I wanted it to. It did great, but my friend, she told me, she was like, to be consistent and in order to get your voice out, because it's never
Right.
really been about views or followers for me. It's mostly been about just getting my voice out. And when
Right.
people meet me or when people see me or when people experience me, that they experience some real human being. And yeah, so that's what got me started. And I got into she told me to post something every day. If it's something just 30 seconds, just post something every day. So if you remember way back, way back, I started with the damn good day affirmations. And
Yes,
I
I
was
remember those.
every single day I would get on and I would do an affirmation, and it was funny because those affirmations came right off the top of my head. I was just like in the moment, what I felt, I said. And that is what kickstarted the TikTok journey. And TikTok I never wanted to be on, in all honesty, which is really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never wanted to be on TikTok. I actually started out on YouTube. I have so many diaries and journals about how I'm gonna grow my channel on YouTube and Instagram and things like that. And then TikTok, got really popular, and I was like, ugh, I ain't finna be on there with the 1, 2, and the rip the wop there. I wasn't finna be all up in there doing that. I am in my 30s. But so I was like, but there's something for everyone.
Yeah.
And so I went online. I started with the damn good day affirmations. That was the one thing that I could do because I didn't want to dance or anything like that. And yeah, I just started, and that happens to be my biggest platform now with almost 285,000 followers.
Well, I
Yeah,
just want to say that's amazing. 200.
I'm
I
thankful.
mean, that many followers and that many people that you've been able to kind of like reach with your
Absolutely.
messages in your platform, it is so much better than to just kind of you kind of use your platform and went with the flow. Like you
Yeah.
kind of allow spirit to be like, "Hey, maybe you should jump
Go
over
this
here.
way.
Yeah, there's some people over here that need to hear it. Let's come over
Hmm.
here." So I actually think that that's dope because I kind of TikTok I never expected it to be nothing major for me either. It was actually
Absolutely.
just fun to kind of watch other people do the viral videos and stuff like that. It was never supposed to be anything extra
Yeah.
for me outside of that. I was trying to blow up my Instagram and my YouTube. So I get that. So with the TikTok journey and you kind of what before let's go before the TikTok journey. Let's kind of dive into what inspired you to kind of embark on your spiritual journey to begin with. Like what was that alignment? What led you there?
Ooh, child. In order to understand that, we're gonna go way back.
Way back.
We're gonna have to go way back. And it's funny because when I was a kid, I used to pretend that I was adopted. I used to pretend that I was adopted and that my mom, my actual mom, was Storm. Now that doesn't mean I have a bad relationship with my mom. I actually have a really good relationship with my mom, and my parents. But I don't know why I just had this. I loved Storm, and I
Mm.
used to pretend that I was her son and that I could only control the wind until I went through puberty, and then I would get the rest of the elements. So I'd be
Mm.
outside, just outside trying to move the wind and all kind of can on, child.
Mine was Erica Badu.
Oh,
I've always felt like Erica Badu was my mama. Like I don't.
oh, call on saffron. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I love Erica Badu. Love her, and she's been real the whole time. The whole time in this.
Okay, love her down.
So when I got to, the military, I got to the military and I was starting to get inclinations of spirituality. And what really sparked my spiritual journey was American Horror Story season 3. That's what it was. I had been to New Orleans prior, but I don't know why that show showed, like, I just was so connected to it for
Especially
some
that
reason.
season. Especially that season.
Yes, that season I was just so connected to. And so I'm in the middle. I was about to go right on deployment when that season came out. So I went on deployment and I would get in so much trouble because I had a moo. I would have my head wrapped. Now I am on an aircraft carrier. I am literally, mind you, I am on an aircraft carrier in the middle of the ocean with a purple moo and a purple headscarf with a toolbox, a coconut, a feather, some sage, and I'm
L
in the middle at the top of the
like you ain't over here with the
child. Like I'm not supposed to be doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
with your uniform.
Yes. And I remember they caught me one time. I had the coconut in my hands and they were like, Mitchell. And I was like, because I used to just love to watch things float in the ocean.
Yeah.
Little did I know that I was giving offerings to the ocean. Little did I know I would just go and
Wow.
get fruit and I would give it to the ocean. I just kept doing it. And I don't know why. It just kept calling me to do it. And that's when I realized that I started to have those spiritual inclinations. Now, my spiritual journey itself that led me to be an initiated practitioner was painful.
Mm,
And because my journey was so painful, is
mm,
the reason why I really got serious on social media, especially when it involved shadow work.
mm.
Because I had to go through it by myself, and I didn't know what it was. I didn't know that that journey, that particular part of our journey, that dark night of the soul had a name. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would um, basically, I had a dream. I went to the ocean October 15th. It was the blood moon of October 2015. I remember it like it was yesterday.
And
We
those
went
are
to the
some beautiful
beach.
moons.
Yes, and it was I was in San Diego, and we went to the beach, and I remember I was like I was so tired of being in the military because I'm a Sagittarius. I can't be tied down by
At
contracts or
all.
anything like that. So I gave $5. Didn't even know how to properly give offerings, girl. So I had me $5, and I went to the ocean, and I remember it like it was yesterday. The waves came rolling in, and I'm kneeled before the ocean, and I see it, and I was asking, I want to get out, and I want to stop, I want to get out, and I gave the ocean the $5, and the $5 rolled in, and then it rolled out to sea. 3 days later, I had a dream. Ooh, this is gonna be fun. 3 days later, I had a dream that that this white figure, a white male figure, just a pure light, but I could tell it was a male figure.
Mm,
He came to me and he took me by the arm and he brought me on the ship. This was after our deployment. I had just got off deployment 10 months ago, or 10 a 10-month deployment, and we were like a couple months in or from back on shore, and he took me on the ship. And as we were walking through the hangar bay where they have the helicopters parked, I could see myself in different situations. I saw myself in like just so many different situations of everything I was about to go through. And then I saw myself walking hand in hand with the mother from Everybody Loves Raymond. And I was like, okay, strange. And I saw myself in a chair and I looked troubled in the dream. And I walked up to me and I said, "What's wrong?" And that's when I woke up. 2 days after that, I was cleaning a space in the on the ship. We were just cleaning the regular space. And what happened? They called me and they said, "Mitchell, we need to see you in the air office." Now, mind you, I was supposed to be getting a promotion. I was supposed to be getting a promotion. I was supposed to be going to what they call Fly, working directly underneath the air boss. Awesome, awesome position, very
right.
prestigious. And they called me in there, and security was in there. And I was like,
This is not good.
okay. I'm like, is somebody dead? Like, because when that usually happens, they're giving us a Red Cross message.
Right.
So they take me down there, like, hey, Mitchell, we needed you to come down. Now, I have a very bubbly personality. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I'm very social.
Yeah.
So of that ship of 5,000 people, I was known. I was very well known.
Right.
I used to just walk up to people and just try to keep up morale in the middle of deployment. Like, here's 10 seconds of complaining. Just go, let it
Yeah.
out, just so
Yeah.
we could release.
Yeah.
And what happened was they brought me in the air office and I saw the chair from my dream. And I
Oh.
sat down and I was like, something's not right. And he just told me it was interesting because I used to work, like I worked on the flight deck. And then when we were on shore, I would work in security. So I knew the person who took me down, who escorted me down. And he
Right.
said, "Hey, will you pop positive for spice?" And I was like, "What?" Yes, girl. He said, "You pop positive for spice." And all I see is my air boss just running down the hallway. And he was like, because they knew they did not play about me. They did not
Right.
play about me. And he was like, "This is a mistake. This is a mistake. Something's wrong." Blah 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 blah. So I went from being a model sailor, because in the military they have a zero tolerance for drug use.
Period.
And tell you, spirit did some stuff. So I remember they have the zero tolerance for that policy. And I remember I went from being a model sailor to being treated like a criminal within 2 days.
Oh,
And I was
wow.
in put on restriction, which is like Navy jail. And wow, I still healing is so beautiful because it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
I still feel that moment every time I tell this story. And I remember I had to go and I had to see the captain, which is a big deal. I had to go see the captain, and they have different officers around us. And I had so many of my officers there. And they were like, that's not his character. That's not what he does. That's not him. And to this day, we still don't know what happened. And because my case was so strange on a drug charge, my
Right.
case was so strange, they still let me keep my benefits, but they allowed me to get out.
You talk
Spirit
you
does
talking
not.
about favor?
Now, the favor was not pretty at the moment, and I
It
couldn't
was
see
not.
that.
It
I
was
could not
not,
see
because 'cause
that.
I'm enthralled in that story, because that's like, but I always, and I don't wanna associate pain all the time with the spiritual journey, but I really feel like for most of us, in order for us to understand what we're being taken to,
Mhm.
there has to be something in between, or else we won't really understand or be motivated to accept what is at the end of it.
Absolutely.
Because being
A
handed that kind of blessing, because you your intent, you went to the ocean to ask for a way out.
Mhm.
And then Spirit was like, "Okay, you just didn't say how.
You
Here you
didn't say
go."
how. You didn't say you wanted a peaceful journey. You said you
You
wanted
just
out.
said, "Get me out."
Roger that. And you know what's really interesting about that is it is hard. It is hard. And I want people to understand the real of, of the spiritual journey in itself. And one of my biggest things that I try to do is to simplify things as much as I can, because the spiritual world is a, like, I'm reading the book right now, The Extraterrestrial Almanac. And it's so
Mm,
beautiful, and it talks about like their cosmic laws, and they live in a world that is completely different of ours, and it has its own set of rules, right? So we have to be able to understand those rules in order for us to be able to grow spiritually. So when it comes to growing spiritually, you have to understand that it will be painful. Now, you can say that it's going to be painful, or you could look at it as, I love to give the analogy of giving birth. I
yeah.
love to give the analogy of giving birth, because I ain't never gave birth. I ain't never gave it.
It ain't
but
fun though.
but if you think about it, look at your life and how you work on yourself. Look
Mm,
at how you work on yourself and how you go through life, and you get sick and tired, like that morning
mhm,
sickness. Your feet swell up because you've been walking too much. Your back hurts, your body aches because there's something inside of you that is growing.
mm,
And that's not just that's just the beginning. That's just the journey of something inside happening. Something is changing. You're sitting in the kitchen while
mm,
there's a eyeball and a toenail being made in your stomach, and you can't see it. You can't see the baby while it's in there. But when you give birth, that is the painful part. Now you
mhm,
don't went through 9 months of all that pain, and then you had the end of the journey. That's when you know, when you are going through your journey, your spiritual journey, and it gets hard. Like, I mean, like your life has turned upside down to the point where you can't recognize yourself. Just understand that you're at the precipice of giving birth to something extremely new and
you
something
better
so beautiful.
say that. You better say that.
And one thing that I have heard, now I ain't gave birth, but one thing that I've heard is that that pain, as soon as that baby is born, all the pain goes away.
It does. It does. You completely forget about it. It's almost like what occurred during the labor process and what occurred for the last 9 months. It's like it was so far yesterday. Like it happened. Like it couldn't have just happened before I'm holding my child,
Mm-hmm.
because as you're, it just, you just melt,
You
and
just
none of the rest of that matters in that moment. It just doesn't.
That's
And I
beautiful.
guess that's the saying of giving birth to purpose,
Giving birth to purpose.
is you have to go through these things to be
Yes.
able to give birth to what it is you're supposed to be doing, what your path is, what your journey is.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, that's just the beginning.
It's
Like
just the
for
beginning.
most people, that's just the start. And you kind of go through that same birthing process a
over
few
and
times.
over and over again.
Yes.
You will have, it will happen. You will be constantly growing and living and dying. The old yous will be dying. It happens over and over again. And like it's really funny how people, they're wanting to get into their purpose, they're wanting to understand their purpose, but a lot of people feel that they need to go and find it. That is something that's been so strange to me, is people like saying that they need to find their purpose.
I
And I'm like,
I think
look,
it's the the way that the world depicts acceptance
mm-hmm,
or moving forward or progression. The world views progression as going to get something. You have
mm-hmm,
to go from here. And just like, think about, you graduate high school, what's the very first thing that they tell you need to do? You need to go out and either go to college or go out and get a job. So
mm-hmm,
of course you're going to find these things. So there's nothing that we've been taught spiritually
mm-hmm,
that led us to believe that we should just seek, go within
mm-hmm.
to find the voice. We don't seek that inside. We seek that approval and that voice outside of us, in
Ooh,
somebody else. In the boss man telling us we're doing a great job, even though we know we feel like we're doing a great job.
yeah,
Or the boyfriend telling us how pretty we are and how gorgeous we are. We would rather get it from other people than to be able to dictate that to ourselves. So I
absolutely.
think that that's why most people don't go inside to find the
And
purpose.
can
They have to
create
go
it.
out. Yeah, they
Yeah.
have to go out.
Because that's all it is just creating that purpose. Like, what do you want to do? And then finding some way to do it. Like, like, that's a purpose. That's our purpose. Is like, I had a spirit once tell me, she said, the world was already done when you got here.
Right.
The world was already done when you got here. The only thing you came to do was to bring what you brought with you
Mm.
and give it to the world.
Mm.
So what did you bring with you?
And it takes a lot, because speaking from personal experience,
Mm-hmm.
um, it took me a long time to discover that. Like, to find my in like to find that voice, to find that voice of spirit, to find that voice of my ancestors. It took me a long time to find that, because of course in your mind you're telling yourself, I'm not hearing this stuff for real. Like, this has got to be me talking to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't be hearing this. Am I crazy?
Mm-hmm.
You start asking yourself these questions, but then it's like the answers are immediate. But
Very
it's
much so.
in the moment, you try to rationalize things because that's what the conscious mind tells you. While
Mm-hmm.
your subconscious mind is telling you, girl, you feel what this is. You feel what this is.
You know.
Stop trying to stop trying to brush it off.
Yep.
Stop doing that. No, you're not. No, you're not. I mean, you are crazy, but what
But
you're
you're not.
hearing is what you're supposed to hear.
It's what you're supposed to hear. It's so interesting because we have been cut off so much empathetically from the
Mm,
rest of the universe, not just from each other as human beings, but cut off from the rest and the entire universe. And that's why it's so hard for us to even comprehend the idea that we could be able to connect with somebody or
oh yeah.
connect with something. Like, when in this spiritual walk, like being a practitioner, you are in touch with the grass. My godson even makes fun of me. He's like, he be talking to the cups and the trees and grass. Like, he will call me out on that, like, because I will. And he knows it. Like, I have an empathetic connection with nature itself, the
Yes.
trees, the plants, water, fire, earth, air. And we have to be empathetic to that. We have to be able to listen. And one thing that's funny is we actually speak the language of empathy. It's actually our first language. That's
Mm,
actually our first language. A baby cries. And have you ever noticed that babies have specific cries for specific things that they need?
they do.
And it's people write books on that now.
Mhm.
And like, babies have specific cries for the things that they need. How did they know that? It's in us.
Yeah.
And then there's that connection between the parent and the child that can understand and interpret it.
Immediately, there's a
And then we
connection.
force a language down their throat. We force the language
Mm, wow.
to them.
I never thought about it in that way. That's actually really beautiful. We force upon our babies this concept that feels more comfortable to us
Mhm.
because the other concept is out of the norm, so it doesn't fit into the society, it doesn't fit into the
Exactly.
norms, so it doesn't align.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And we think about the animal kingdom. The animal kingdom does not say a word, but they empathetically understand each other.
they know. Yeah.
When the wolves sat down? How many wolves sat down and like, all right, let the meeting commence. I am the alpha man. It happens. It
Yeah,
it happens. Like we don't sit and do that. So we have to always be talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. Instead, if we just feel it, allow ourselves to be felt. Like we met for the first time and our empathy connected.
it did.
Our
It
empathy
did.
connected and we were able to see who we are instantly.
Yes. It was a definitely for me, it was magical in a sense because I've only had that connection with a certain number of people.
Mhm.
Um and it's always been so difficult for me to open myself up with, to that kind of energy because I've always been kind of like, after doing tarot readings for people and kind of feeling that energy and then it's sticking with you after a while, you kind of learn
Mhm.
to kind of put up brick walls when you talk to people because I don't want
Yeah.
that energy.
Yeah.
So when I met you, it was like,
Instant. It's a reset. It's like a reset, or like a save point in the journey in an
yeah,
RPG. It's like
yes,
a save point when you meet cool people that you can really vibe with, and because people think that there's a time limit that you need to. Of course, like everybody's like, don't trust no one, but but like it's refreshing
it
when you're
is.
like, I see you.
Mhm.
You
And then
you
you can
see
and
me.
you can because if I feel like that's what it's funny because there's this TikTok that's kind of going around now. That's kind of like POV thinking to myself, like my best friend is a stranger that I just decided to trust one day. Or my boyfriend is is a guy that I met randomly off the internet that I decided to love. Like it's that.
Yes.
Like complete stranger, see on the internet, and I'm like, oh my god, he's so dope. And then all of a sudden, it was like,
Yeah, and you know what's so crazy? You know what's really crazy is I feel like that's why I've had so much trouble in dating. I
mm,
feel like I have had because I've only had one boyfriend in my entire life,
yeah,
and it was only for like 9 months. It was long distance. But I've had so much trouble in dating because and when people do meet me, they're like they're like you feel like home.
yeah,
And I'm like, well, yeah, what am I supposed to be? Like, what am I supposed to do? Like
because they've had so many negative
prerequisite.
encounters.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've had so many negative encounters prior to meeting you. So meeting something that feels completely different than what they felt encountering other people is different because I will say that that's how I felt when I met my wife. When I
Mhm.
met her for the first time, I was like, you feel like something I've always known. And I was like, I can guarantee you I've married you in a past life.
Oh.
You can't tell me I didn't because I met her in September. We started dating in like officially January of that following year.
Mhm.
And we've been stuck together ever since, literally.
The stranger that you just decided to love.
And she was, and I know a lot of people don't like to give credit to other people for their spiritual walk,
Mhm.
but meeting my wife allotted me a space to be able to heal in a way that I was never able to do.
Mm.
Prior to meeting her, I just ran. I went off of survival mode. Being a young mom at 15, then having another baby at 18, you don't have
Mhm.
time to rest. What do you
Yeah, I can imagine.
you gave up your whole childhood at this point. So from 15 up until I was 28 years old, I ran. And when I met her, I got to rest for the first time.
Wow.
Never
Hold
knew what that felt like.
that is so interesting that you say that because, my spiritual awakening was around, well, no. Yeah, my awakening at coming to into who I was as a person started at 15.
Mhm.
And I met my godfather at around, yeah, I met him and I was going to be 28 that year. Yeah. I met him and
No way.
yeah, and I was running. I was running like track star hard.
Yes. All my
And I'm
pain, I was trying to leave it back yonder.
all of it, every piece of that.
One trying to take it with me.
Girl. But I went in there. I went and I met my godfather, and he wasn't my godfather at the time, and we
Yeah.
just connected. And one thing that I loved is that what spirit will teach you, because your spirit has a cry. Your
Yeah.
spirit has a cry. And I always tell people, I'm like, just ask the universe. Always ask. And the universe will, it has to respond to you. It must
Mhm.
respond to you, because if it doesn't, the universe itself will be out of balance. If
Mhm.
the question is not answered, then that means that there is not a yin and a yang. There's not balance.
Right.
So a lot of people aren't asking because they're being shoved what they should know, or Google
Ooh.
knows everything, and boom, 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 bam. So we don't ask anymore.
Ooh.
So if we're not asking, the only thing that the universe can give us is what the other people are asking for us
And what we're thinking and
and
what
what we're
we're
thinking.
because in negative thought, negative talk, you'll rather and that's something that I had to stop doing to myself
Hmm.
because I am good at telling myself what we not gonna do or what we can't have or what we
Ooh.
not gonna have. I'm good at that, especially if I find myself in a situation that has made me uncomfortable, or if I'm sad, or if I'm down. And I feel like the most people feel like that voice is so much more familiar
Hmm.
than the voice of positivity or asking for what we desire because most of us didn't grow up in a place where it was comfortable for us to ask for what we desired because it was only what we needed that we were given. So
Hmm.
asking for your desire or asking for the answer was a no-go.
Oh yeah,
It was a no-go.
absolutely. And I really loved how, like, he allowed me to, like, open up my mind and be more powerful.
Mm.
When I was younger, I used to hate being considered a man. Never like I didn't want to be. It's not like I wanted to be trans.
Mhm.
Shout out to my trans community.
Okay. Love
But
y'all.
all
Mm.
right. But it's not that I wanted to be trans. It's just it was bothersome because I was so just with toxic masculinity.
Yes.
And it was like, just bruh, like, this is why does being a man have to be uncomfortable? Like,
Yeah.
why do you need to like box out all the time? Like, it's so much work. I was like, oh my God, that sounds like so much work.
And I feel like men should in a spiritual space should be able to fall into their femininity. Like
Yeah,
just
exactly.
because it's only fair. Just like for most women who run in their masculinity because they have to, because of
Mhm.
survival, because of need, because of demand in their life, they have to run in that masculinity and they deserve so much to fall into their femininity. And if they don't wanna get up, they shouldn't have to.
Yes, and I feel like if people understood, that's why I said I like to simplify things. Like, I love to simplify it and use just different words to get to the same point. Because,
Yeah.
like, there's so many different ways. There's a million and one ways to get to God, to the same God.
Mhm.
So if you understand that, like, femininity and masculinity is not even about like private parts. It is the
Mhm.
energy of what it is. Like, Masculine energy is a fixated energy. And what we have done is we have put women in a fixated energy where they need to be on guard at all times. And what's it's so funny that masculine energy is not true masculine energy. It's their feminine energy trying to emerge, and they will not allow it to do so
Nope.
because they think it has something to do with being womanly.
Hmm.
And feminine energy is nothing but allowing things to flow and allowing things to change. Allowing things to change.
Yeah.
And people don't want that. Like they don't that's why we still in this headspace like we are now.
Because change for me sucks. I have never been okay with change. Never.
And I have been too much with change. Like when woo,
I'm a creature of habit.
I'm
Like
not.
I think because you served in the Navy and I
Mhm.
served in the Army.
Woo, woo. Y'all are
And
who ya? Y'all are who I?
who
We are who ya?
who and I think that routine because so much of my life prior to me going was chaotic.
Mhm,
I just kind of did, go, 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 go. And so much of my life before the service was chaotic. And when
mhm.
I got into it, it gave me routine, it gave me structure, it
Yeah.
gave me this is what we're doing on this day, every day, at this time.
Plan
This
of
is
the
how we're
day.
doing. So because their favorite thing is hurry up and wait.
Hurry up and wait.
It's ghetto,
Ghetto.
especially in the summertime.
I can't.
I was stationed in Texas, Fort Bliss, Texas. I
Mm-mm.
was an 88 Mike. I drove
Mm-mm.
trucks. Excuse me, sir. If y'all
No.
don't come get me off this asphalt, I'm hot. But
They had us sweeping up. They had us sweeping puddles in the rain. Uh-huh.
excusez-moi.
Girl, I don't even know. Like I was out there, I was in the rain, and that's when I knew I had reached rock bottom. I was like, am I really sweeping a puddle right now while it's raining?
Yeah, we fell asleep in formation
Outside.
with the flat vest on, falling asleep like this in formation. Just,
I learned how to
huh?
fall asleep walking. I can sleep anywhere
Yo, with
on
my
site
standing up with my eyes open, I'm asleep.
with my eyes.
I took a nap.
And that's a beautiful thing. You know what? That is so awesome. I'm really happy that we're doing this right now
Yeah.
because a lot of people that are veterans, man, I hope they see this because this
Yo.
is like a lot of people don't even understand about our veteran experience or our military experience and after the military experience because they can give you 2 weeks of TAPS class to reintroduce you back into society. I didn't get that because of how I got out of the military.
Right.
So they just said, I don't know if you've seen
Butterfly.
I don't know if you've seen Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt when they were walking out. She was like, "Okay, bye victims, bye victims." That was me. They just let me go.
My story, I regret what I did, but I don't. On the other hand, I was in Texas and my mother had relapsed and she had custody of my kids and nobody knew where she was. So my brother and my kids, they're just home. My mama gone. And when I found out, I was like, I gotta get home. I was accused of cheating on the PT test. How do you cheat? How do you how do you cheat on the PT test? I have no idea. But I was accused of it and I was on duty at the time. I had got Article 15 and I think I got like 15 days extra duty or something like that.
Mhm.
And I tried to tell them that I needed to leave because my kids needed me. And because my captain felt the way that she felt, she denied me being able to leave. So,
Holds my
found out
beer.
that my grandmother sent a Red Cross message because I later found out when I got home, my grandmother was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh
So
wow.
how can she take my children? So my grandma sent a Red Cross message, of course, because she need help. I went AWOL. I left. because for me, it was a choice between whether my children survive or whether my career in the military survives.
Mm-hmm.
I did eventually go back, but by the time I went back, my captain tried to court martial me to the fullest extent. Like, even though the Red Cross message was there, everything was the way. The only thing I didn't do was get dismissed by her, which
Mm.
considered me AWOL. And I get home, my mom somehow was found, I guess, when she found out I came home and picked me up from the airport. And I was like, "Where have you been? Um, what's going on?" My first sergeant Bell, I'll never forget him. He tried to help me. He did. He was like, "Howard," that was my maiden name. He's like, "Howard, if you come back, I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna do as much as I can." And then I go back and he was trying his hardest to fight for me, but she was trying to have me locked up.
Mm-hmm.
My only option was to get a other than honorable discharge,
Yeah.
and it broke my heart
Mm-hmm.
because I gave up most of my life to be in the service and make one mistake, blemish your record one time, and you get kicked out. Like, it broke my heart. Like, I was so depressed behind that because the military, in my eyes, for me, was a saving grace because of where I grew up.
Ooh. Oh. Huh. It was. It was. I couldn't
So
afford college, so I went into the military.
I had babies. I was 18 with 2 kids, and I was like, my grandma was like, "Baby, the only options that you got are either go to the military or, go out here and get one of these jobs working at Wendy's or McDonald's or something."
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I
Mm-hmm.
just finished my associate's degree in psychology, and of course, you need a master's most of the time in psychology. We want to talk about making money,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was like, "Well, I guess I'm just gonna go to the army." And to I feel like I feel like the rug was snatched from under me. Like, I feel like if my commander, and they don't talk about the trauma that you kinda hold on to for some of us, especially
Come on.
under the pretense of you give your life for something and you think that this is gonna be your career and you think this is gonna be the rest
Mm-hmm.
of your life, and then the rug is snatched from under you. In my case, this was something I feel like I couldn't control.
Yeah.
Like, I
And
had to
that
choose
helplessness
between
is that
I had to choose
helplessness.
between my kids or
Huh.
myself. Of course, I'm gonna choose my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I only came home for, tried to come home for the weekend, but when I found out that she was trying to court martial me to the fullest extent, I was like, um, who's trying to go to Fort Leavenworth?
Real.
It ain't me. So I eventually was arrested in the city that I was living in. When I was arrested by the city, police officers, they gave me a plane ticket. The military sent for me a plane ticket. I flew out. I got discharged, and because I have other than honorable discharge, I don't have the opportunity to have benefits. And since I was discharged, I've been fighting. Since there was a Red Cross message that was sent for me, I've been fighting to kind of be able to get that overturned, but there's so much trauma and spiritual disconnect
Mm-hmm.
that kinda comes along with being a part of something like that, or being a part of an organization or the military in general, and
Mm-hmm.
then having to acclimate yourself to thinking a completely different way. Like, now you have to try to go back to being a regular person
Being a regular person. Wow.
when you've been stripped of being that.
Intentionally. Intentionally. And they break you down, build you back up how they want you to think. Now, the military experience, I cannot complain about my
Yeah,
military
I had a
experience.
lot of fun.
I
I
had a
had
lot
a
of
lot
fun.
of fun.
But at the same time, the way that it ended and the lasting effect that it has on
Mhm.
us, and then how difficult it is for us to get help. Oh, we have we have our the VA and things like that. But do you know? Have you ever been to the VA? Have
Yo.
you ever dealt with the VA? Like it is not an easy process.
Mm-mm.
And you know what's really interesting is I love that we both have that military experience and we both have uh a not so pleasurable ending to our military experience, which is really strange that I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy because we come out and we have, like you said, we have to pretend to, well, we have to learn how to acclimate back into regular society. And the first thing I noticed, I was like, why is everybody so lazy?
Mhm.
I remember the first time I could quit a job, and I did it on purpose. I was working at Chili's right after I got out of the military. I was working at Chili's and I was watching Pocahontas before I went at work that day. And I said, he say one word to me.
I'm leaving.
And that tree said, listen with your heart. I walked in there. He said, you supposed to be here at 1. I said, I was.
I quit, don't worry about it.
I quit. Don't even worry about it. And it was so liberating. That was the first time that I realized. And that was the first time that I realized that I was free.
Yeah. Yeah.
That I was free. And I was like, whoa. And then I moved to Nicaragua just because. I literally looked up at the moon and was like, God, what you want me to do next? And just moved to a whole different country. Didn't know nobody. Lived there for a whole year. Didn't tell nobody where I was going for 3 months. I just left. That was PTSD at its finest.
The level of panic my wife would ensued on the planet trying to convince this woman to move down the street is a is a feat by itself. But
Oh Lord.
honestly, you said you were a Sagittarius.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny because I'm an Aries.
Boom. There it is.
Um, but my wife is a Gemini, so she's a
I
lot
love
more.
Gemini. Home. Gemini, they are amazing, but you better have them at home. You better have somewhere to sit down. Yeah.
Baby, because she riding. I did that. That was my bad. She was so cute. Second
That's so
episode.
adorable.
Cute. But if I honestly, if it was just me by myself, I probably would have moved out of the country like so much longer ago. Because for me, like I have no problem with like picking up. Like spiritually, I am the type of person we've been living in renting the same home for a few years now,
Mhm.
and I feel stagnant. I'm ready to move. I'm
It's
ready to
hard. It's
go.
hard.
I know, and she's a stickler because she's kind of like, we need to go see it. We got to go know where the place at. I need to see the people around, and I got to test the schools. And me, spiritual, I'm like, girl, that's a lot. Let's just pick up, pack up, and go.
We'll figure it out when we get there. We'll figure it
That's
out when
me
we
all day
get
long.
there.
I'm like, girl, you doing a lot for us to just like go. And then she'd be like, we got kids. Okay, they could go with us. What you
They're
saying?
adaptable.
Why you be like this? Because spiritually, I'm not the type of person I feel like once I stay in a space too long, I feel like it's kind of starting to
Yeah.
close in on me. And then it's too routine. Like
Yes.
after a while, it's too routine. And then
Yes.
I start seeing like little stuff in the house kind of start to break down. Then I get a little sad because now I want to paint the walls. This ain't my house. I can't be painting these people's walls. You know what I mean? I want to
Mhm.
change the doorknobs and door frames and all kind of stuff. I can't do that to these people's house. I'm ready to go.
Red to go. R-E-T.
Now, I do want to know what spiritual practices, like what do you do to kind of keep yourself centered? What are some things that you kind of perform or give yourself in that space to do when you
Okay.
need to.
So one thing I'm going to tell people, and you heard it here first. One thing that one thing that I do is a lot of people would not even consider this.
Mhm.
I do something called a negative cleanse. I made it up, but that's what I call it.
It's a great brand.
It- it- but I do a negative cleanse. So one of the things that keeps me centered is for me to because of the level of connection that I have with spirit, that I it is sometimes it's very easy. This is why in spirituality, a lot of people when they talk about initiation, they think that when you go through the initiation process that you're going to know it all. It's called initiation,
Mm.
the beginning.
Mhm.
That when you first go in, you're just going to learn the beginning.
Mm.
And then you understand that it is your entire life. You start to understand that it is incorporated into your entire life. You start to understand that these spirits are incorporated into your entire life and they have always been there. So when you start to, and that's why some people they'll be like, in this practice, you have to be very careful because a lot of people you could literally go crazy. You could go crazy,
Mm.
for lack of a better term, because some people just can't handle it. Some people
Yeah.
cannot handle, but you have to understand that these spirits are from a different realm with
Yeah.
a different set of rules. You can't try and understand them with a human mind. Now, what's so
Yeah.
painful about that is that when we get into that state as a spiritualist, we are connected to the divine. So, like how that's why I'm glad that you brought that up about being in the military.
Mhm.
And when we come out of the military, when you come out of initiation, you have to
Mhm.
walk through life like you're a regular human being, but you're not.
No.
You're not.
And you're
And
never gonna be you're
you're
never gonna be
never
the
going
same.
to be. The
Never.
dead in Christ shall rise. You can
Yes.
never go back to sleep.
Never. As
You
much as
will
you may want to.
As much as you may want to, you will never go back to sleep.
You wanna
So
turn it
one
off,
thing
you wanna
Yep,
stop it, you wanna pause it, you wanna you can it
you don't
never.
wanna feel it sometimes, you don't wanna go
Yeah.
through a painful experience. One of the most painful things about being a spiritualist is when you go through painful experiences, you can't freak out like everybody. My my godfather told me something so profound. He told me, "We as spiritualists
Mm.
do not have the luxury of being depressed."
That is the realest thing I've ever heard.
Girl, when he
Because we
told
don't.
me we don't. How can we? Because being worried and having faith don't mix. You
It
can't be
don't.
worried and have faith at the same time. So if I have faith that God and my God is working in my favor, my ancestors are working on the essences that are going to make every single thing work out. I'm in communication with my ancestors. My higher self is connected with all of that, and my inner child is chilling. How am
Mhm.
I going to be able to worry?
Yep.
But that does not stop the human experience of things that's happening around us.
It does not. And I think that's is so much so of the conflict
Mhm.
of being a spiritual being
Mhm.
and being connected to source in that way, and then still
And
having to
still living.
have a human experience.
'Cause
So you're
girl,
having those experiences simultaneously, like together,
all day.
and you don't know what direction, like you have no idea where you're supposed to be going.
Mhm. It's true. And that's one thing that keeps me centered is doing negative cleanses, where there are times where I'm just like, I'm gonna choose. And
Mm,
today I wanna be human.
mm,
Today I want to be human. So many people are looking to be spiritual. So many people want to be, I want to grab my Florida water, my crystals, and I want to start doing my readings. And they want to be so spiritual. But baby, when you get there, wait a minute. You're gonna miss that human experience.
mhm.
You're gonna miss it. And so I take those moments and I take those days where I'm just like, I'm not gonna do anything. I don't want to clean today. I don't wanna do it. I just want to sit on the couch.
Do you allow yourself to be sad if you're sad in that moment, like cry in that moment?
Oh,
Because some
absolutely.
spiritualists, I think one of the how do I put it? One of the I feel like needs to be debunked is
Mhm.
that you're not supposed to feel negativity, or you're not supposed to speak negativity, or you're not supposed to, as a human being, okay? I'm a human being, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to experience negative feelings. I'm going to, even in the midst of manifestation, even in the midst of me calling things to myself, I sometimes just, I hate it here. And
Bruh.
I want to cry and I want to be sad and you want to feel those things. But one thing that I've always told myself is that don't stay here.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
You're allowed to feel this. It's okay. Cry, scream, go outside, kick a ball, kick the trash can over, whatever you got to do. Just don't stay here. We
It's
can't
and
afford to
that's
be here.
you can't stay there. And like when I would say like I think when I understood more about being the observer of my reality,
Mm,
when I started to understand about being more of the observer of my reality, it really helped a lot.
mm,
And that's a very profound way of living, is just being the observer. Because okay, you're going through a bad situation. Is
yeah.
it you that's going through the situation? Or is it the consciousness of yourself that is experiencing you, the meat suit,
Hmm.
going through that situation? So if you can go through that and be aware that you're observing it instead of just living in it, it helps life go so much smoother.
Yeah.
But it's really hard because we are taught to not be delusional. But one
Absolutely.
thing that I say, baby, all day, every day, I taught this in my shadow work program while I was coaching. Live in la la land until you allow your land to la la.
Mm.
I have been in la la land my entire life, delusional. And every single thing that I've ever wanted has always come to be. It has always happened for me.
I've always
That is
found that to be factual too.
when you stop worrying about it and just let it come. All I did was just ask for it. All I did was just wanted it. And then I put forth some effort to make it happen.
Cause honey, I listen. I might not go to church no more. Okay. But being raised at Good Baptist, son,
Mm-hmm.
when my mom prayer without
Change
works,
is dead.
huh? God didn't say I'm just gonna give it to you. He said, "Hey, I'm gonna give it to you, but
You
you gonna
got
show me
juice
you
up.
want it? You gonna show me you want it?"
Shake a leg and get up, do something.
I mean, cause I think I even learned that like in some of the friendships and like people that I had in my
Mm-hmm.
life, like it was certain things in certain levels I couldn't be taken to with until I let it I had to let it go because I can't
Mm-hmm.
give you this that you've been wanting and desiring and manifesting, and these people are around you because they're either one going to take it from you because they don't understand what I'm giving you, or two, you're going to wallow it away by trying to save them, because
Mm-hmm.
that was always my thing. I dated people that I needed to save. I was friends with people that I wanted to save. I was never friends or dated people that there was an actual exchange of
Mm-hmm.
anything. I give you something, you give me something. I give you something, you give me something. There was never that. There was always, I give you, I give you, I give you more. I give you more. Here, let me fix that. Are you bleeding? Let me put a band aid on it. Do you need something? Can I help
Yeah.
you? Nobody ever asked that of me. And then in moments that I kind of had, I like to call them snap out moments.
Mm-hmm.
My daddy used to call them spaz. My daddy would be like, "So you about to spaz out again, ain't it?" And moments that I would spaz would be the only time that these people would care.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only time you look at me and you see anything, but you still don't see me. You see what's happening in the moment.
Oh,
You don't see me.
you
And
know,
have you
mhm.
faced any challenges that are similar to pouring, like during your journey, pouring into people or giving to people, and the can you tell us how you kind of got out of just kind of being this ever never ending cup that poured into others?
Interestingly enough, I was never a cup that poured into others.
Mm,
I was not. I I actually like was a loner.
mm,
I was a loner in my life. That's why it was so easy for me to just up and move to a different country without, saying anything or anything like that. Because I was just like I always because I started dancing ballet when I was really young. And so when we would go on tour or when I would do drum corps, we would go on tour. I got used to saying goodbye. So I got used to detaching from people really easy and
mm,
really quick, and very meaningful relationships I was able to detach from very quickly.
yeah.
And so one of the hardest things that I had to learn was how to be loved. That was one of the hardest things I had to learn, was how to be loved. I was very hyper independent.
Mm.
Like, or hyper, like, how, like, people are like codependent. I never understood how people could be codependent. I was like,
You don't comprehend that.
I never comprehended it. Now that I'm judging them, I just never understood it. And
Yeah,
then I was like, wait, let me do some research.
yeah.
Because everything in my life is leading back to something. I think it's me. I
I
think
think
it's
I
me.
I think I have the problem
I
here.
think I'm the problem. And
Or
then I started to realize, I was like, oh, I am the problem. Because I lived like being grits, gay raised
yeah.
in the South, I had to hide in my home. Coming home from school, I had to turn it on. I had to be on.
Mm,
So I was just like in my own world constantly. So when I got out into the world and people started to like love me and really love me, I was like,
what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
why? And then and it's been very recent. It's been very recent since my initiation, which is about 5 years ago.
Mm,
Since my initiation, I have sat in that, like, Tevin, no, you can be loved. You can give love. And you have really genuine people in your life that actually love you, that pour into me. Like, when I looked back on it, I was like, "Oh my god, was I selfish?" Or I love to self-analyze myself. My cousin,
me too. That's
my
psychology. That's what it
woo,
came from.
she was like, she asked me one time, she was telling me, because we were going through something, we were doing something, and she was like, "Well, if you need to be more compassionate, because if you're not compassionate, you're in the wrong line of work." And I sat on that for 3 days. I was like, "Am I compassionate?"
Why am I not? If I'm not?
Like, I sat on that with myself for 3 days, and then
Yeah.
it came to I was right, but it was not the point. But, it was really interesting, but no, I haven't really had that, of people pouring, and I guess
Mm,
didn't do it because I saw so many people do it.
yeah.
I saw, like, my aunts and uncles, parents pouring more into each other, or my friends and their relationships, and how they, like, I just never understood how somebody could stay in a relationship where it was hurting them. And those are things that still to this day don't really opinionate myself on, unless I have spirit, telling me what to tell
Yeah.
that person, because that's something I've never experienced. It's something I've never experienced, and I don't think I
Yeah.
ever will be able to experience it. And it's also been like a hindrance for me in a big way, because I've always wanted, like, I don't know what it's gonna just have to happen, me falling in love one day. I don't know how it would be to be like, yeah, we're in this.
Yeah.
I feel like I belong to the entire world. I'm like, hey, we're all in this. Let's do this. And I don't know how it would work, but I hope that it does eventually. But
Oh yeah,
pouring
it
pouring in.
you're such a loving person. Like you have that loving energy even if you don't feel like you exuded, you do. So I feel like you're going to draw it in and it's going to be around the time that you probably least expect it to come in.
Everybody
And
says
when you kind of start sitting back and be like, I guess it's not for me. And then it's going to be like,
that.
hey. Hey.
But
So, um I don't know how much more space we might have, but we're kind of coming to the end. So I wanted to ask one last question.
Of course.
Y'all, I just want y'all to know before I ask this last question, we will be doing this again.
Yes.
Um, this has been absolutely amazing banter. Okay. This conversation is definitely gonna go down in my history books. Okay. This has been enlightening. It's been fun. It's been spiritually uplifting. Um, and I've learned so much from you in the aspect of things that I wasn't able to learn because nobody else in my family does this. I don't have godparents. I don't. Most of what I learned came from reading
Mm-hmm.
and feeling. Every ritual that I've ever done, every bath that I've ever created, every other spiritual thing that I've done, I felt it first. I didn't, nobody taught me. So you're kind of teaching me some things along the way. And I think that not only will I benefit from that, but the people watching us will benefit from that because a lot of people are only being told, "Oh, I'll tell you if you pay for it."
Mm-hmm.
And it's gonna have a price tag on it, and it's gonna be a pretty, pretty, pretty price tag, and then I'll help you. And most of us are in a space where we don't wanna pay for the it's not that we don't wanna pay for the help, is we don't wanna keep being swindled, nor do we wanna keep feeling got. So we
Yeah.
just want somebody to be able to talk us through this process until we get to the point to where we can feel like we can trust again.
And that's honestly the reason why I stopped coaching. That I just recently stopped coaching because I was charging coaching prices, of course.
Yeah,
Now, when it comes to spirituality, those prices are set by spirit
yeah,
and things like they do, like, just there's an exchange because money is an exchange.
of course.
But when it came to the knowledge of, just how to help yourself, because I did it all by myself. I didn't
Yeah,
like I was a nomad for 10 years. Like I found my godparents and it was just I found them out in the world. Like it was I don't want anybody to go through that. I don't want
yeah.
anybody to go through that confusion. And I don't want anybody to be that like, "Oh, you don't have $1,300, so you can't get this knowledge." What? Girl, I
And
almost
that's
cussed.
legitimately like I spoke to you about. I tried being initiated into African spirituality,
Mhm.
and it, it scarred me. It scarred me, the person. I'm not gonna
Mhm.
say the no, not the religion. It's amazing, but but that particular person scarred me in a way that I now have to build trust in being able to get good information from decent people who if I have to pay a fee, I won't mind, but I know
Mhm.
that I'm not gonna get got at the end of it.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
sometimes you get got and you just kind of that hurts. Because most of the time, the people that's coming to them with that kind of assistance or to us in general, because I do readings and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
So people that come to us for that kind of assistance, they're looking for something. And if you know that you can't assist them in that, or if you know that your heart isn't in the right place to do it, don't do it. That was one of the reasons why I cut off doing readings because at the moment my heart wasn't in the right place. I felt like I was only getting up, going on live on Facebook to make money. I didn't feel like any longer I was actually being connected to the people that were seeking my help. It just felt like another job. It felt like another
Mhm.
thing. And I was when I realized that that was not the way that I wanted to present my version of spirituality, I just I had to leave it alone.
Absolutely. I when I met my godparents, I got lucky. I
Yeah.
really did. I got really lucky. I have been blessed because there's so many horror stories when it comes to people being initiated and what that happens during their initiations and things like that. But I have been so blessed that my godfather and my godparents and my lineage just in itself has just been very consistent.
Mm,
And we have this saying where we say 20 minutes
mm.
all the time, because when we first met for like 2 years straight after I was initiated, I was calling him every day. We were like, I love you, love you, love you, love you, love you. And I was like, you love you. We say love, I love you every 20 minutes. So now we have a thing where we don't
Of
even say
20
I love
minutes.
you. We just say 20 minutes. So like I've been so blessed to have that. And he taught me the real deal.
Yeah.
He taught me the real deal. And I mounted first. So the spirit, like he obviously saw that spirit was with me.
Yeah.
That's when he was like, oh yeah, it's time for him to get prepared. And my journey is about paying it forward. I have received the real deal in 2023. I have received the real deal of the ancient ways of doing this practice. I have received that. And I'm going to be able to share that with the people that deserve that.
Yeah.
And that's why I do not play about my integrity. I don't play.
At all. At all.
I don't play
So,
about
last question.
it.
Are there any books or resources for people that you're comfortable with giving, of course, that can kind of significantly help them in their growth and understanding of their purpose and finding that on their journey?
So when it
And we,
comes
we can link those books below on Amazon if some of them are on Amazon
to
or
my book I'm reading right now, this is called the Creative Act: A Way of Being.
Mhm.
Now, me personally, what I would like to tell people is when you want to read, when you want to do research on a spiritual practice, it's very good to do research on a spiritual practice, learn about as much things as you can, but you really want to get into um an actual person that can teach you,
Mm.
because it's felt different, it's
Yeah.
understood different, and it's able to be conveyed differently. So, like any type of research that I would advise for people is going to be about how to strengthen their mind.
Mm.
Because if you can strengthen your mind, you will be able to manifest the person that you need. If you want to be initiated, you will be able to manifest the person that you need. And that's what happened with me. You want to be able to strengthen your mind. So, this book by The Creative Way of Being by Rick Rubin, The Celestine Prophecy, that is such a good book. The Extraterrestrial Almanac, that is such a good book about different beings, and it helps to open up the mind for you to be able to understand that there's more out there into the world. Like it is very helpful for people to want to learn about, the practices and
Yeah.
things like that, but get in there. But
Absolutely.
manifest your door to get in there.
Absolutely.
And the same spirit that told me that, the same spirit that told me about that you didn't bring anything with you, or you came to give what you brought with you.
Mhm.
She said, all the doors are open right now. And I said, Mama, but I don't know which one to walk through. She said, having all the doors open and walking through them are two different things. You can be in your house with all the doors open, but you in your house.
Mm. Mm. So you already in the space.
You already in the space. You
It
just
wouldn't
gotta
even
walk
matter.
through it.
It wouldn't even matter what door you chose because
It
all the
don't
doors are
matter.
safe to go behind. All of them are aligned. They wouldn't be open if they weren't meant for you to go through.
Exactly. Because it's the same house.
Same house.
God said, let there be light. Not I'm trying to get light. Not I gotta pay my light
Mhm.
bill next week.
I only got to put one bulb in over here, and tomorrow I'm gonna go get the other one.
Nope.
Yeah.
Let there be light. And it was, and it
Yeah.
was good. Manifest the way for you to fortify your mind. That is the only thing. If you want to be a part of a practice, go be a part of a practice, and be able to strengthen your mind so you can be able to have proper discernment.
Mm.
So if you feel like something ain't right, you can be like, you develop that relationship with your ancestors so you can be like, Oh, okay. That
I
don't
hear
feel
this. It don't sound right. It don't
And
feel right.
and another thing that I would definitely advise people to do is to listen to your intuition. I will always tell people this: listen to your intuition, and trust me, your intuition is not the message received. It is
Mm-mm.
not the message received. It is the trust in what gave you the message that is the truth.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Oh, and connect with your ancestors.
Connect with your ancestors.
Talk to them because even if we don't know if the ones immediately that we knew were connected to any of this spiritual stuff that we're getting into, it could be all the way back. And none of them are what I had to learn the hard way was that most of them, for most of us who are deciding to walk a spiritual journey, we were the ones chosen to
Hmm.
do so. So there is nothing that they're going to lead you wrong through. There's nothing that they're going to lead you to that they're not going to help you get you through.
Hmm.
So connecting with them is for me is a major resource. You want to talk about a resource, that's who you connect with cuz for most of us grandmama was our lady.
Hmm.
Granddaddy was the man, you know what I'm saying? Great aunties and uncles that we were close to, those were our people. For me, it was Madia, which was my great grandmama's mama, and then my great grandmama, and then Big Mama, which was Medea's mama. So for me, it was the generation of women that went back. Most of the men in my family, we weren't really close, and I think that's a thing that my family just the women kind of catered to the children. The men
Hmm.
spoke, gave hugs, gave good gifts on birthdays and things, and but they stayed out the way. Women were more influential in my family. So for me, it's always been the women in my family. I try my hardest to connect to them as much as I possibly can. And I talk to them. I sometimes just come in here on my couch in the middle of the night at 2 o'clock in the morning if I'm up. And we just talk.
Now, and I love that. And I love that because you have developed a relationship with your ancestors that is unique. How would you have strength if you don't have that unique relationship with your ancestors? And this is why I tell people to fortify your mind if you're wanting to connect with ancestors and things like that.
Mm.
Because, like, let's say you read a book and that
Mm-hmm.
book says, okay, your ancestors may come as a cold chill.
Mm.
So you sitting there at the house waiting on a cold chill, sitting at the altar waiting on a cold chill, but all the while you feel your left hand burning. You feel
Mm-hmm.
your left hand burning, but you waiting on a cold chill, like golly,
No,
because
for
you
real.
waiting on a cold chill, but the cold chill is not how they want to communicate with you. It's the secret of the burning hand.
Mm-hmm.
It's that. What are they trying to how are they communicating with you? Is it a ring in your ear? Do they come to you in
Mm-hmm.
your dreams? Are they what are they doing? But it's going to be for you to connect with. And that's the purpose of having the secret
Yeah.
is being able to have your unique relationship with your ancestor.
But
Then
I
if we
agree with
did
you.
that, we'll be like, everybody gotta have a cold chill, or we ain't got ancestors.
And that's gonna be the only way ancestors ain't gonna never we ain't gonna never hear them. No,
Exactly. Everybody
no
got the same ancestor. But you know what's really interesting is, and a lot of black people do this. I'm gonna talk to my black folks for a second. A lot of black folks, we do this, yeah. We have to start thinking about ancestors being what they are.
absolutely.
Ancestors. Just
Absolutely.
because we want to know and we want to see an old picture of like my grandmother helped me to be able to connect with 6 generations back after her death.
Mm.
I was standing next to my grandmother's grave at my aunt's funeral, and I was like, Grandma, I want to know more. And she sent me to go talk to her sister. And I was like, hey, Auntie, I want to know more about our Gullah Geechee culture. She sent me to go talk to her daughter. I didn't know that her daughter was the family historian that had our family history of 6 generations back. I had no idea.
You see?
Connect with your ancestors. But even though I have 6 generations back, that does not mean that it started there. My ancestors did not start, and it helped me so much. It helps me. I hope this message helps anybody who
Yes.
is feeling that identity crisis in their life, because we have it, where we have felt like we belong nowhere. We are so desperately trying to find out where we belong in
Yes.
Africa. I don't need to know whether I came from Nigeria. If I want to know, I can.
Yeah.
If I want to know, I can, but I don't need to know what part of Africa I came from, because I know I'm human and I know I'm here.
Yeah.
Ancestor is, I like to think of it as bigger, that every single drop of blood that has ever been on this planet since the beginning of time that led up to me is my ancestor.
You better say it. You better say it.
Some of them weren't even human.
Mm. Cause
So,
I keep, my favorite song is "I Am Not a Human Being" by Lil Wayne.
oh,
Cause I don't feel like I am. I feel like I'm not from this planet. I don't belong here with these
oh,
humans.
and we definitely, that star seeds are a whole different podcast. That is
Honey.
a whole different podcast.
But y'all, I hope y'all enjoyed this conversation. I hope y'all enjoyed today's video and today's episode. Y'all, if y'all are watching us over on YouTube, please do not forget to subscribe to both of our YouTube channels. My his will be linked down below on my YouTube, and mine will be linked down below on his YouTube channel. Um, if you guys please do not forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell so y'all can be notified when we upload these amazing podcasts, because we will be doing more. If y'all are listening to us over on any of the streaming platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, follow. Okay. Click the follow button. 5 stars is the go. Okay. And thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you. This is
You're
awesome.
amazing.
This is so
It
much
was.
fun
It
and
was.
so
This is amazing.
beautiful. The energy is just flowing. I love it.
I
I love
love it. So, y'all, when we do more, I'm gonna have to go ahead and like make sure I check to make sure like we got time so we can save, so we can do videos that are a little longer than an hour and some change. Maybe we can do some that are a little bit longer. So I'm gonna make sure that my storage can hold that, so we could be good because I'm not losing none of this footage.
it. All
Okay.
right.
So thank y'all so much for watching today. Thank y'all. We really, really, really appreciate y'all. Y'all have a great rest of your day. We're gonna see y'all next time. Peace.